Gayatri Mahamantra with your back straight, left hand beneath the right, contemplative mood. Om Bhur Bhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. The live classroom on Shrimad Bhagavad Gita once again begins. And today we embark upon the verse number 10 and 11 of chapter 5 in Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. Like all verses of Bhagavad Gita, these two count as one of the most prominent ones, since they talk about the human existence, the true human potential. According to the ancient Indian wisdom, the understanding that we have been bequeathed and bestowed by our great masters of the unknown times. What is there in the human that makes it different from the entire creation? Animals we have more powerful than the human. The only thing that makes a human different and distinct from the entire creation is the brain potential of a human. The ability to understand, envision, process facts, and then take decisions and act upon them. And these two particular verses talk about a manner how a human potential can be unleashed. Out of these two verses, I would like to start with the verse number 11 first and then come down to the verse number 10. As it goes in Sanskrit, Kayena manasa buddhaya kevalahi indriyai api yoginah karma kurvanti sangama tyaktava atma shuddhaye. It says that if you act detached, disassociated with your body, mind, intellect and senses, you act as a karma yogi and you gather the inner purity, inner cleansing. That inner cleansing, inner purity is something which is a foremost achievement according to the evolutionary process of ancient Indian wisdom. Why is this inner cleansing, inner purity being harped upon time and again like a tautology? In English, the word tautology means trying to harp upon the same subject again and again. What is the need for talking about inner cleansing, inner purity again and again? We must understand that today, in the modern era, any software application, any gadget, we only use after we are convinced that it is going to solve and sort some problem of our life. Unless something solves a problem, something makes our life better, we don't deploy unnecessarily whether objects or softwares, applications, whatever. Therefore, it becomes mandatory for us to understand that what is the qualification or what is the benefit that we draw out of the process of inner cleansing, inner purity. What do we gather out of it? Now that's very important to understand. Generally, this word is used in the spiritual parlance. People consider it the Atma Shuddhi or the inner cleansing, Atma Shuddhaye, as a part of evolution under the spiritual parlance. Of course, it is under the spiritual parlance, but not merely confined to that. It exceeds, it goes more than that. What is it? A person with the inner self cleansed, the layerings, the sheets upon the inner spark that we call as the soul. According to the great masters, the moment you peel off, you remove the layerings dissipate, they wither away. The inner spark comes blazing, and the effulgence of the inner spark is potent enough to cast many more prominent aspects to human life which generally one would not be able to understand, see, or experience. What are those? To make things very simple, the foremost advantage of inner cleansing, Atma Shuddhaye, the inner cleansing of the self is clarity, clarity, and clarity. Clarity upon your subjects of life, clarity upon your priorities in life, clarities upon the problems that you confront, and clarity upon many more things apart from the people around you. You gather more clarity. Ambiguity, confusion leads to conflict. The more you are confused, the more you are ambiguous about facts, people, situations, subjects, the more you are under the spell of a conflict. And the moment you relinquish yourself from conflict to clarity, you gather harmony, you gather more light upon the subjects, and you are able to discern, distinguish, and take the most apt decision. So clarity is a big, big boon for a human. And that's why all over the corporate world, the business world, as we say, or self-development aspects, clarity has been considered as the utmost priority of a human capability. Unless you are clear about your aspects, you're clear about your objects, you will not be able to scrutinize and discern between different priorities. So clarity is the mandate, and clarity is the foremost advantage that you gather the moment the process of inner cleansing starts. The inner cleansing gives you the access towards clarity. So Atma Shuddhe, why should I learn this? What relevance, what sense, what meaning does it carry for me? It carries the four meanings as clarity. Second, we always take decisions with the understanding that we possess, with the limited facts that we have already gathered from a past experience or from the people around, that we see, that we hear, we process it within our brain, and we take decisions in the light of different situations of life. But there is a third dimension as well. What is the third dimension? The third dimension is called as intuition. The intuitive inputs, now we term it as intuitive intelligence as well. Intuition is something which you cannot easily brush aside today. Of course, yes, such subjects that cannot be construed to logical conclusions 20 years ago were brushed aside by the science of the time. But today, we have come ahead of all those fixed and rigid understandings where we would not understand anything which does not fall under the set formula of the logical interpretation. Today we are there to accept anything which may not be able to logically construct itself for its presentation. Quantum sciences are the best example for that. Technology is today functioning at a fulcrum where logical construction may not be possible, but yet things are happening. And intuition happens to be a part of all those. Today, the science is also working on intuition. Yes, there exists a third dimension where people are able to access, maybe accidentally or maybe through adoption of a procedure, they're able to access some information inputs of information that are not visible to naked eye, not audible to physical ears, but yet people are able to comprehend such aspects. The unseen world can be explored through a deeper human observance, deeper human experiences, where you try to access information that goes beyond the time, that goes beyond ordinary comprehension. What is in the mind of a person, probably, however the posturing may be different, what is there probably which is envisaged as a trend or a happening into the concealments of the time in future, such aspects are now being unraveled. And the science is experimenting them. How is it possible that few people accidentally or by adoption of a procedure are able to access inputs of information that fall in the domain of intuition. And the moment you are under the process of Atma Shuddhe, inner cleansing, you not only access clarity, you also start gathering the inputs of intuition. You yourself, within yourself, start knowing and understanding different pieces of information about subjects at hand, people in front, and situations that you're confronting. Nobody is informing you, yet you know that. Although you cannot question the source of that knowledge, how do I know that? You can't express it. You cannot logically construct the source of information. If I ask you, and you have to happen to have a gather an intuition, how do you know that? You cannot logically construct the source of that information, but yet it goes beyond denial. And if you have experienced it, if you have tested it, then you see the authenticity of it. Yes, it is like that. It happened the same way. Something which we have now started ordinarily using as gut feeling. We may not be able to easily define the entire dissection of the gut feeling, but we cannot even deny that. And science is working upon many aspects of existence that are not visible to the naked eye, that cannot be logically constructed. Vibration happens to be one of them. The frontier, the science of the frontiers is also experimenting the human impact, the impact of a human presence upon its own gadgetry. The extent of my impact upon my mobile phone, my impact upon my refrigerator, my impact upon my television, something which probably was unbelievable, something that was absolutely a weird thought, today is a subject of research. Because somewhere we have understood that anything and everything which cannot be logically constructed need not be unnecessarily brushed aside. We have to explore it. We have to understand it. There may be a different algorithm that nature is operating at which we have not discovered so far. And intuition happens to be the same. Atma Shuddhi happens to be the same. The more is the experience of inner cleansing, the more is access to clarity, the more is the gathering of the inputs of intuit. Not only that, people who experience the process of inner cleansing start marking their presence to the people around as a source of inspiration, as a source of solution to different problems, as a source to end several conflicts. In their presence, things automatically start falling in the most organized and integrated manner. People find themselves protected. People find themselves cared. People find themselves as more expressive. People find that yes, their presence marks a special signature on our life. And why so? Because they are under the process of inner cleansing. And this is something not which I am merely using for the sake of a usage. It is something which I have experienced with some people. The more you are under the process of inner cleansing, the more you are able to access different faculties of your brain. Human brain potential has been termed as infinity. The ability that a human brain can access, demonstrate, is beyond ordinary comprehension today, and that is something which science has time and again now professed and established. But one cannot access the brain capability, potential, the faculties of the brain acting at the optimum levels unless the brain is in a state of absolute harmony. In equanimity and equipoise is observed. A rioting, conflicting, chaotic brain cannot charter upon entirety of its capabilities. No, it cannot. It's impossible. For that, you need to be under a state of harmony where in a composed stature you are able to access different faculties of the brain. When the brain is under confusion, chaos, then it loses its sheen to work and function, even the basic parameters of it. You find yourself blocked, blank. All these are experiences that are cast upon the human brain potential by anxiety, by crisis, by anything which probably brain cannot handle. And it works the maximum at the optimum in a harmonized state. And the person with inner cleanliness, inner cleansing, experiences the usage of the brain potential to the optimum levels. It's not only confined to that. Let's not forget that the leadership of today, in the parlance of business leadership, political leadership, social leadership, or elsewhere, the leadership qualities are enumerated as the ones which I have right now mentioned as the outcome of inner cleansing. Any leadership has to be born with, B-O-R-N-E, born with clarity. Any leadership must have the access to the third dimension, like intuition, so that it can construct, it can undertake decisions that conclude to something which is tangible, positive, favorable. Any leadership has to be such whose presence marks a difference on the lives of the people, who acts as a source of inspiration, acts as a solution. Any leadership which cannot access the entire brain potential, cannot cast its decisions, cannot leave its decision that impact towards favorable outcomes towards any subject or any issue of the life. I must take the advantage of taking an example from the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who was, in the literal sense, was not literate at all. And as we understand through different scriptures that were transcripted, rather, all his utterances have been transcripted as Gospels of Swami Ramakrishna Paramahansa, that on different subjects of spiritualism and otherwise, he made certain utterances, and all of his utterances are something which are immutable. You cannot mutate, you cannot amend, you cannot modify, you cannot suggest amendments to that. It is something as it is, like a Murphy law. They stand immutable, beyond any scope of any kind of penetration, piercing, editing, whatever. Why? Because that particular gentleman, the great sage of all time, Swami Ramakrishna Paramahansa, was in the experiences of inner cleansing. In the experience of absolute inner cleansing, the clarity before him, the intuitive inputs before him, the access to all the faculties of brain to him, gave him access to certain pronouncements which have today become immutable. And this has happened not with him alone, but if we go and trace and unravel the pages of the history, we find number of great sages who have demonstrated through their ordinary lives utterances, understandings and experiences which are immutable beyond denial, undefiable ones. And all this comes through the procedure of inner cleansing. We may not easily accept these things today, but we cannot give denials, because let us understand, in the parlance of management, things are yet to come which belong to that ancient wisdom which had researched its subjects in unknown times. But the realms of science have accepted and adopted the impossible aspects which cannot be led to a logical conclusion. Science has adopted it. Now it's upon the management, especially the leadership, which is managing the business, which is managing the nation, which is managing the society, to start accepting subjects which science has taken the lead to accept and put them to practice. Because you cannot lose that time. You cannot create a caveat that unless it is empirically proved, I shall not access, I shall not deploy certain techniques which otherwise give me an edge. Nanotechnology, time and again I have made it a mention in my recordings, operates at a scale which is not visible to any eye. yet it functions, we know that. And not only that, we are making use of nanotechnology at simple aspects. Today we are asking nanos to communicate with nanos, nanos to create their own community. This is the one of the most advanced video I have been able to access on internet, where a nanotechnologist was making a mention that somehow we are creating certain programs which the nano teachers will create their nano classroom and seek that their nano teams comply and behave the way the nano teachers have been programmed. All this is happening in a world which is not visible, yet it's working. So science has accepted certain things. Management also has to accept certain aspects which may not be logically constructed at this moment. And inner cleansing is one of them. Because devoid of inner cleansing, we go on accumulating conflict, remorse, regression. I don't know how many things I can term it as. In the aggressive pursuit of our professional objectives, words like passion, words like achievers, words like success have somehow taken our entire existence more than it should. And truly interpreting in the right perspective, instead of becoming achievers, we have become aggressive aggravators. We have started aggravating the situations more rather than giving solutions to them. So it is mandatory for us, especially those who are at the leadership helm, to understand the importance of inner cleansing and the access that it gives to a human to serve their capacity at far more magnified levels than they presently are doing. And that is what Atma Shuddhe means. And the procedure for that, which Gita has been prescribing time and again, is Sangha Tyaktava. Sangha means association. Sangha means entanglement. Sang means where you are fixed. Tyaktava, devoid, detached, distanced. Something which can distance you. And what is that Gita is prescribing here to distance from? Not to distance from all the possessions that you have. It's not asking you to throw away your mobile phone or empty your pocket in the street. No, it's not like that. What is a human being? As we started this classroom today, we said, what is the distinctiveness that a human being bears upon the entire creation? The abilities of the mind, the understandings. The understanding of a human is the distinction that makes it as the prince of the God. As God has vested into a human almost of its own potential, almost, not entire. That's the distinction which a human being bears. So where exactly have we to exercise that distancing? Where exactly we have to exercise that insulation, that detachment, is at the end of our understanding, not elsewhere. While we are engrossed into different actions, actions where we have to cherish our objectives, actions where we have to rub shoulders with our compatriots, our colleagues, where we have to communicate, we have to make our point. There are times when we transcend the limits, where we take it as a personal aspect. That's why very commonly we start using this word, don't take it that personal. What does it mean? Don't take it that personal. If you try to interpret it in the wisdom which has been bestowed by the ancient Indian wisdom, Prachin Bharatiya Manisha, don't take it personal. While doing everything in your profession, while exercising all obligations, when this word is used for you or when you use it for the other person, what exactly do you mean to say? What you mean to say is distance, buddy, distance, disassociate, detach. That's what you're trying to say. Don't take it that personal. Because you understand that while you're conducting different businesses of life, there are times when you take it very close inside towards the isness of your own identity. Don't associate it with the isness of your identity. That's what you exactly mean when you say, don't take it that personal. Because you know, when people take things as personal, then things become distorted, things become conflicting, things become rioted. That's why we say, don't take it that personal. You're very sensitive. You take things personal. And it goes for all exercisings through a professional or through a familial person or through a leader in a political party or in a business organization in any capacity. That is what exactly it means. Commonly we use this word without diving down into the wisdom of this word. And Gita is merely prescribing that whatever you do through your body, kayena, body, manasa, through mind. Mind means to envision different desires, different objectives. Buddhaye, while discerning different facts. Discernment is the job of the intellect, buddhi. Desires, mind. Actions, different actions, physical actions, body. Indriya, this is senses. Different senses gather inputs from the world outside and feed it to the understanding inside. So it says anything that you do, any kind of action that you do through your body, through your mind, through your intellect, or through your senses, don't go that personal. Distance. That's not easy, I know it's not easy. But I've seen certain examples in my life where I've felt people who have undergone a process of inner cleansing. They have been able to see its impact upon their body, in their mind, in their intellect end, and also at the end of their sensory organs. I have made a mention today morning in the Hindi session of the same lecture about a Digambar Santa. Under the Jain faith we have Digambar Muni, we know, are the ones that move bare. They don't try to have any coverings upon them. And they have a very rigid lifestyle, a very strict observation that they take. Rigid here means not in the obstinacy set, but rigid here means something which is very fixed, something which is beyond any compromise. They don't compromise it. And that's true about them. And I've experienced one of them, not all of them, one of them. As I'm informed that they don't use water to bathe. Despite of the fact that they don't use water to bathe, I have been in very close proximity to one of such sage, and have experienced that there is a very nice odor that comes. Very nice odor that comes. Sort of an aroma that comes. The best word would have been fragrance, I know, but yet I have exceeded beyond. Because generally when we go towards a human body, especially when it's sweating, we find the different odor coming. That's why people use all those things in the armpits, the deos and all. Because ultimately they have to defy the odors. A different fragrance and the kind of shine emanating from his bare body was very different. His words very gentle, his eyes very settled, his presence marking signatures to the harmony of everybody around. Why so? Merely on the count that gentleman in the capacity of a Digambar Muni has been able to practice inner cleansing. After inner cleansing, his body, his mind, his intellect and his senses all are working at the optimum levels and contributing the maximum. He has not gone, he is not infringed, he is not intruded to anything that could term any of his deed as personal. I was also informed that a number of times, whatever he wants the others to do, he would instruct people, people would defy. People would simply defy, people would not obey him, but yet he would act the same with them. He would not take it personal. Sangam Tyaktava means just and simple one-liner. Don't become that personal. And when you say personal, it means your individuality, your identity. Don't take things to your identity. If you take things to your identity, all the way to identity, any small confusion to identity, any small conflict to identity, any small exchange of views to identity, then you become a barrier to your own objective, not in service of your objective. They always say never make the I stand ahead of your objective. Always let your I stand before your objective, so that you are at the back of the objective, serving it. And if you come ahead of it, you are an obstruction. You're casting yourself as an obstruction to your objective. So Sangam Tyaktava merely means to distance from all those aggressions that take you personal while dealing with people, while dealing with subjects, while dealing with situations, while planning, while strategizing, while envisioning, while doing any business. And if you do that through your mind, body, intellect, and your senses, you are a karma yogi. And in the verse number 10, it has given an example of a lotus flower. It says, like a lotus flower floats upon the solid water. We all know. Now, here's a question, something very important for me to take up right now, and that is that under the ancient Indian wisdom, almost all the deities that we see, we observe, they have been given the seat. They have been offered a seat of lotus to place upon. And why not rose? Why not marigold? Why not something else? Why not lily? Why lotus all the time? Now there's a special context for that must be understood. Because here they are trying to explain that like a lotus flower afloat on the water, insulated. Let's understand where a lotus is born. Lotus is born on a solid water. SULLIED, on solid water. It's not born on a clean water, on a transparent water. No. It's born on a solid water. Where does the lotus gather its enrichment, its nourishment to blossom? Solid water. Where does it cherish its own stature? Atop solid water. Where does it ultimately merge? Into the solid water. So everywhere there is a solid water. What is solid water? All confusions of a life, shortfalls of a life, conflicts of our life, cravings of our life, all disturbances around us in the form of situation, people, subject, whatever you may term it. All those are the solid water. They are the personification of solid water. And you have to see how they are personification. Lotus makes no complaints. Lotus makes no excuses. With whatever given to it in the form of solid water, it transmutates that to make a source of enrichment for itself, because it has to not only blossom with all beauty and exuberance, but at the same time it has to spread a special fragrance of its own. The word in English, transmutation, exactly means to alter the constitution of anything into different. When you are able to alter the constitution of any substance from 1 to 2 or A to B, that's called as transmutation. And here a lotus flower also, it gathers all dirt, all solid aspects of the water, and then transmutates it to cherish its beauty. Likewise, it has been given as an example. It has been used as a metaphor or an allegory or a symbolic input for all of us to understand. We all have been born in a solid water, and let's utilize it. Let's make use of it. And because if you, like a lotus, if you try to blossom, you will be left with no complaints. Then what you will say is, I need this particular water. Unless I have it, I will not be able to unleash and unravel that exuberance which I am made for. Excuses are begone. Complaints are begone. No conflicts. Whatever remains, whatever is given to you is the best you have to make use of. That is why lotus flower has been given as a seat to almost all the deities and the ancient Indian wisdom. And apart from that, lotus flower has got a lot to convey, lot to convey. The moment you adopt the insight of a lotus flower, automatically Sangam Tyaktava, that is to distance from that aggression, from that exaggeration of going personal into things, that automatically distances, diminishes. You come back, you withdraw, while contributing 100% of your brain potential, while contributing everything into you, you yet remain distant, disassociated, detached. That's what the verse number 10 and 11 are trying to convey to us. The classroom upon Shrimad Bhagavad Gita shall continue the same way in the times to come, and as we have a classroom every second and last Sunday of every month. 7:30 we start with the Hindi lecture, 9 o'clock we start with the English lecture. Very soon we shall be coming out with a proper curriculum for all those true seekers and students that intend to study Shrimad Bhagavad Gita in a better organized and a procedural manner. Soon we shall be out with that. Till then, Om Shanti, Shanti. But before we conclude, let's chant the vibration of Om for 11 times so that we align and integrate inside, and then the class will culminate. Just at a very calm and relaxed posture, both hands together, left beneath the right, just be in an easy mood, all your thoughts at rest, be in absolute stillness inside. Chant Om with all gentleness and at ease with me, taking a long, gentle breath. Release it by saying Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. See you all in the next live classroom, falling upon the second Sunday of the month of April 2017. Till then, Om Shanti.